I run a company that teaches AI skills, and I can't tell you what we will be teaching 15 months from now. The field moves too fast, and anyone who tells you they know is lying. That's a strange thing for the CEO of a school to admit. But it's the honest starting point, because once you accept it, it tells you how AI training has to work and why most of it doesn't. We have spent 6 years and about 5,000 graduates refining it. The short version is, the learning should look like the job. Let me explain what that means, especially if you manage a team. If you manage a team in the UK, you can likely get AI training for them government funded. Free training sounds like an easy decision, but the training was never the cost. The time is. These programs come with protected learning time. Hours your team spends learning instead of working. So do the math on your own team. Take those hours, multiply by each person's hourly rate, multiply by the size of the team. For a team of 10, that's tens of thousands of pounds of salary time, whatever the course itself costs. So the only question worth asking about the program is, what does that time buy? For most online programs, not only government funded, the honest answer is not much. Almost everyone is one of the two models. The first is self-paced content, and material is usually fine, but no one is holding you to it, and there is no group around you, so people drift and quit. Learners call it tutorial hell. The second is the classroom moved online. Scheduled lectures and workshops. You get structure and people to learn with, but the content is generic. The same lessons, whether your team is in marketing, finance, or operations. So it rarely maps to anyone's job. Both models exist for the same reason. Pushing fixed content to thousands of people at once is the cheapest way to run a training business. It suits the provider, but it just doesn't fit any one person's job. And both assume there is a fixed body of content worth pushing. Which brings me back to my confession. In AI, there isn't. If I can't know which facts will matter in 15 months, a course cannot be centered on a pile of facts. The best answer to what it should be comes from David Deutsch, the British physicist and one of the founders of quantum computing. Deutsch argues that knowledge isn't a stack of facts at all. It grows the way science does. Someone proposes an explanation, others try to knock it down, and weaker explanations get replaced by better ones. That never finishes, which is why memorizing can keep up with a moving field. But the process itself doesn't change when the tools do. So that's what we teach, the process. Copying the process means two things. First, a learner has to produce something worth criticizing. A real solution to a real problem, not answers on a quiz. And the only place they can tell whether a solution actually works is their own job, their role, their tools, their data. Second, someone has to do the knocking down. Our learners get one-on-one reviews, consultations from senior engineers, full-time professionals at Vinted, Google, Amazon, and IBM who take apart the work they ship. When a project doesn't pass, we mark it not yet, not failed. In this model, a mistake isn't a verdict, it's the step before a better answer. Here is what that looks like in practice. Before any lesson, the learner has a short conversation with our AI about what they actually do all day. Say someone on your team runs campaigns on Meta and Google Ads and tracks results in GA4 and Excel. They describe that in plain words and it generates their project. Real work built on data like theirs. Underneath, it teaches the skills every learner needs anyway: cleaning messy data, analyzing performance, drawing conclusions. But they practice on ads they manage every day, not a dataset they will never see again. And because the project is shaped by their own work, the same model fits a junior analyst and a CEO. The order matters too. Most courses teach theory first and let you build at the end, if there's time, by which point you have forgotten why. We do the reverse. The project comes first. You help define it, so on day one the goal is already yours. Each piece of theory then has an obvious purpose. It's what you need to finish the project in front of you. People value what they help build, so motivation stops being your problem. I trusted this enough to test it on myself. Over the past year, I learned AI engineering, the same way our learners do, and built about 5 internal tools my team now uses every day. Just to name a few: Doco, Notion and Confluence alternative on steroids. £10,000 saved per year. AI ad generation app. 10 times speed in creators generation, up to 4 times cheaper. AI admissions interviewer. Saved us over 100 hours of staff time in the last couple of months. Those projects saved us close to £100,000, and on some of our go-to-market work, roughly quadrupled the revenue it brings in. I'm not reading this from a brochure. I watch it work in my own company. The same thing happens for learners. One used to build a monthly Excel report of client purchasing patterns. Their project replaced it with a web app that pulls the data itself, builds the dashboards, writes the recommendations, and emails them to the right people on the first of the month. They didn't just practice a skill, they removed a recurring job from their plate for good, and it went straight to their portfolio. One more thing, training always makes productivity dip before it climbs. Time spent learning is the time not spent on this week's work. You can't avoid the dip, only keep it short and shallow. So we work with you to pick the problems worth solving, and every hour of that protected time goes into project that solves one. Even during the dip, your team is producing things you will use. Which is why this is closer to consulting than to a classroom. When a problem matters enough, you could hire consultants and they would solve it well. But you would pay day rates, and then the engagement ends and capability walks out the door with that. Here, your own people solve it, on funded time, and capability stays. The difference isn't whether the problem gets solved, it's who can solve the next one. So that's the model. Real projects built on your team's own work, reviewed by senior professionals, learn as a loop instead of memorized for a test. Nobody can tell you which AI skills will matter in 15 months, including me. But the process of turning a problem into a working solution doesn't change. That's the thing worth learning. If your team has funded learning time, the question isn't whether to use it. It's whether that time will look like a school or like a job. That's the Turing College model in the UK. There is a link below if you want to see how it would map to your own team.